Until you asked me this, I didn't really think, but then I thought, well, yeah, I do actually. In my head, I'll be like...
I never for 1 second imagine Andy Bennett watching other anglers and learning technique from them.
That were a bad decision from me, managing myself massively. It was my choice as well, not the team's choice.
I hear you.
I went for it.
There's bits in these interviews when I was filming them that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and this was one of them.
Yeah, I identified that I was weak, and it was costing me.
He's looking where he might have a weakness and consciously going out to close that skills gap.
And this is something we've seen time and again. This focus on the technical. Lee Kerry did it with casting.
Yeah.
Andy Bennett did it, sat on the lake with Chris Weeder.
Yeah.
Steve Ringer's did it with meat fishing.
I love learning, and I love watching stuff and like new information. I love that.
There's someone who studies things and has a love of learning. He's soaking stuff up. He's walking towards it.
If I have time to prep it, I will.
Yeah.
I'm a prepper until the last minute.
Okay.
The very, very last minute.
An aspect that emerges here, I think, is routine for Jamie New.
I never think like I'm going to play safe.
Yeah.
Because what's the point? Yeah. That's how I've always been.
It's a constant goal.
Okay.
There's never...
Which is what?
Remain at the top.
I think sounds really cheesy and corny, but I'm a winner.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the Psychology of Match Fishing. I'm Tom Scoley and I've been an angling journalist for over 20 years now. I've got to say this is by far and away the most exciting project I've ever worked on. And that's thanks to this man, Colin Mercer, who approached me late last year with an idea that I think has taken the coverage and the insight we have into top flight match fishing to a new level. So Colin, just tell me a bit about your background first of all, if you would.
I'm a business psychologist, so I have spent my career working with organisations to optimise their people performance and people contribution and people well-being. So that's working on things like leadership assessment and development, team development, team coaching, organisational culture, that type of thing.
You see, he says all this, and he sounds like a real top-flight businessman executive. I'm sure he is when he's got his suit on, but I know him from the clubhouse at Western Pool, where he's a top match angler. He won festivals last year. He's always there and thereabouts on the festivals that we're running. And I know for a fact you're not sat here because you're a top psychologist.
No, absolutely. I mean, I'm passionate match angler. It's been my life.
Right. I'm sorry to do this because to you this must be a bit cringy. I bet you've been asked this sort of awkward question loads of times in guns. But when you use the word psychologist, I think of Hannibal Lecter. I think of a shrink. I think of somebody sat backwards in a couch getting mentored on a problem they might have or trying to work through something. Just talk to me about exactly what you do day to day in your professional work.
Okay. Well, there are different types of psychology, and it's absolutely not that type of psychology that I do. For me, it's particularly the application of psychological principles to the world of work. So, for example, there may be an organisation that wants to make a key appointment, and it might have 4 or 5 people in line for that, and they'll know a certain amount about those individuals, but they might want to know more. So they would ask for that person to go through some type of assessment process, possibly using something like psychometrics, to get a feel for that person and where their particular strength and development areas lie. For example, some people might be more strategic, some people might be more operational, some people might be more interested in the big picture, someone interested in the detail. So a big part of what I've spent my career doing is that type of one-to-one assessment. But then also another thing we do a lot of is working with teams going through change, teams that need to accelerate and step up, and also boards, looking at board functioning and how you get the best out of a group of people when they're working together. So that's what I've spent 35 years doing.
It's so interesting to me because, I mean, I've always thought, and I'll be honest, and I hope I don't offend you, but I've always thought this is a little bit airy-fairy, this sort of world. I thought I don't quite know. And then you told me about some of the work you've done with big corporate companies who pay millions of pounds in this area to identify, as you say, key characteristics. Without giving too much away or blowing too much smoke, you've done really well for yourself from this career, haven't you? I can see that.
Well, it's been a team. It's a team effort. Yeah, we built a business up, myself and a team, and we were successful in, I think we got into the market at the right time. And when we're going to come on, I think, and talk about how important timing is in match fishing, we got into the market at the right time and we capitalised on that wave. And had a built successful business, sold that in 2019 to a larger company. I joined that company on the board running the consulting division. And then a couple of years ago, decided to step back and concentrate on other things that are, should we say, equally close to my heart.
Like fishing?
Like fishing.
Right, okay. So why are we sat here then, Colin? What was it that you saw in the world of match fishing that you thought, I can make a difference to this and I can learn from this?
One of the things I'd observed in organisations is that there seem to be certain characteristics that differentiate the higher performers from the average performers, if you like. And one can do a piece of work to start to determine what those factors are. Now, it is complex, and within organisations, it can vary depending on the context and what sector they're in and what phase of the market they're in. But still, there seem to be common characteristics that seem to mark out the higher performers. But my match fishing journey has taught.
Just before we go into that, can I just really, sorry to be a pain, I just want to really drill into this because, like, so it's into operation. Say I'm the MD of BT then, or Boots, we'll say, and I want to take on a store manager. And I come to you and I say, Colin, I want to employ a good store manager. What would that process involve?
Well, the first thing would be a real study of the role.
Yeah.
What it requires, what the day-to-day activities involve, what the kind of occasional but perhaps equally or more important activities, monthly activities might involve, really getting into the details, so a proper, thorough job analysis. And when you're doing that, it's equally important to think not just about how the store manager job is now, but how it might be, also how it might be in 2 or 3 years' time. And then you'd look across different store managers to see if there are themes. Once you've identified those, that set of data, you typically turn that into a set of criteria that might be 8, 9, 10 things, dimensions, and then you would check that with the organisation, check with the store managers themselves, check the language and tone of it is right. And once you've got an absolutely crystal clear understanding of what that role is, you would then set about putting in place a recruitment or a selection process that measures each of those 8 or 10 things.
Got it.
So and then in doing that, you obviously then meet the candidates, but it's important to recognise that all candidates are different and that framework, 8, 10 set of criteria, whatever it is only really a guide and a gauge. You have to use that to gather your data, but you also have to reflect and respond to the different people that you meet. And through that process, you're trying to work out who's going to be most successful and most satisfied in that role.
And is that sort of process of identifying, first of all, exactly what the key strengths are in that role, and then finding those within candidates, is that pretty standard throughout the process?
It's a pretty standard approach, yes.
Right, got you. Right. To match fishing then, I'm guessing, obviously, you fished at the top level for a long time in different contexts, some team fishing, some natural venue fishing, some commercial fishing. Just tell us a little bit about your background in that and how that's driven your interest in this.
So, I mean, I fished all my life. I think the first fish I ever caught was a perch from the Leeds-Liverpool Canal, the running horse and stretch. And I've just had the bug from the moment I started. Fished a few matches, 12, 13 years old, and very much enjoyed that. I think the first team I joined was Widnes Angling Centre, actually. An old friend of mine, Mark Murdoch. I grew up with Mark and we did a lot of fishing together. You'll know Mark. On the canals. And at that time, one of the hotspots, I was going to say local hotspots, but it's in North Wales, was Trawsfynydd Reservoir, which had a hot water outflow. And around the hot water outflow at Trawsfynydd, lots of fish would congregate, trout, but mainly rudd. And Mark and I had gone there for a weekend to catch some, and happened to be a match on that we fished with Widnes Angling Centre, and we did well, and they invited us to fish for them. So I did that for a couple of years, mainly canals, in fact to say exclusively canals. And then I went off to university in London. And looking back, I'm not conscious of a fork in the road, but I think subconsciously I faced a decision of kind of committing to professional career or committing to a life in match fishing, and I think I went for the career route. Well, again, looking back, it seems more subconscious than conscious, and that's what I did. Went off and worked, but I've fished all my professional life. I moved to Cheshire in kind of early 90s and went to Daves and Middlewich course, fantastic angling centre, and then got asked to join the Middlewich team. So I fished for Middlewich in nationals, which was kind of Division 4, Division 3, Division 2. Met some great anglers there, Steve May, good friend of mine, Andy May. Got to work with some good people and did reasonably well there. So it's mainly winter leagues on the canals, Shropshire Union, Trenton Mersey. I did okay, won some, competent, I'd say, rather than sparkling. But on that basis, got invited to fish for Wizzo. And Wizzo were a team run by Chris Durrant, primarily out of East Manchester. Some fantastic anglers in East Manchester, and we'll come on and talk about some of them. I've whole of Manchester. Got invited to fish for that team.
We don't like talking too much about Manchester.
No, we don't. Not as a Liverpool fan. Yeah, I was a Yorkshire, but still, there still are some fantastic anglers there. Wizzo primarily, the two core events were the Winsford Winter Leagues on the River Weaver. So before Christmas and after Christmas. So I pretty quickly had to learn how to fish rivers. The Weaver, as you'll know, deep, slow river, but fantastic fishing on its day. And I got to fish with some tremendous anglers there, Ernie Ayres, a River Weaver legend, Lewis Breeze, really good anglers who I learnt from. And we had two teams on the Weaver, and we did well. During that point, Wizzo became Team Last Cast, and I was asked to captain that, and so I did captain Team Last Cast across the Winter Leagues and into the Nationals, which I'll come on to. So Winter Leagues, we had on the Winter we had two teams, Last Cast Red and Last Cast Blue, and we did well. We won it a lot of times. Edgley Sports were another fantastic team at that time, but we certainly at least held our own. We also had actually a junior team, which consisted of some terrific anglers, James Howarth, Alan Rutherford, Craig Eberl. In fact, we were very lucky. We benefited from Stockport District, had a fantastic youth setup. And I think they kind of produced a cohort of good anglers, and we capitalised on that and recruited them to the Last Cast team. I do think talent grows in cohorts. You get groups and clusters of talent growing, and that was one, and we benefited from that. So they were Winter Leagues. We also fished Nationals. Because we were a newly formed team, we had to start in Division 5, or 5 divisions then. At this point, it moved from 12-person teams to 10-person teams. And we worked our way up 5-4. I think we got double promoted one year. Then we ended up in Division 1, and I think our high water mark was we finished 4th in Division 1 year when it was on the canals around Penkridge. So very much enjoyed. We were a good canal team, I think, and some fantastic anglers in that team. I don't want to start naming them because I'll forget some, but the Mays, the Mulhers, we had a brilliant team. And that was the year Shakespeare won it. At that point, I was enjoying team fishing, but it's a lot of hard work, a lot of organisation. And I felt my team fishing was suffering a bit. So at that point, I decided to step away from team fishing and concentrate a bit more on individuals.
It strikes me from listening to that, just the breadth of it, in that you've done a little bit of everything over the years, and obviously had a lifelong passion for angling. But I've sensed talking to you, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I find it really admirable and again, sorry if I offend you, a man of your age, I find it very admirable. You've got this drive, you've got this thirst to improve, which is quite rare in older people generally, I'd say. You want to get better and better, and I think it's that, isn't it, that's perhaps driven this project?
Oh, very much so. One of the having moved from team fishing to individual fishing, and at the same time moved to commercials, if I'm really honest, I struggled for a few years. And I think I struggled because I was locked into a team mindset, which was about catch something at all costs and, don't blow out rather than winning. And so I learned over those couple of years, actually, the need to change my approach. So that was then. Since then, as you say, I've done fished lots of different places, Whiteacres festivals, down at Stafford Moor. I won 3 silverfish festivals at Stafford Moor. And I still felt I was getting better. But 2 years ago, stepped back from the business, decided to concentrate, to really invest more time in match fishing. I chose to specialise, and I decided to go to Western Pools. And I set myself a series of goals. So 3 years ago, I wanted to be framing, which mercifully I did do. And then 2 years ago, I wanted to be podiuming. And then last year, I wanted to make sure I won one, which I did. So I feel I'm progressing. But to your point, still, I think one of the things that fishing the festival has taught me and given me exposure to the top flight anglers, still there is a gap. And there's a real gap in the difference between my capability and the best. So to answer your question, I am very keen to improve. Think I can. I will invest a lot of time and effort to doing so, but I want to understand why. Why is it that, similar gear, similar pegs, I'm here, and they are consistently here, and they are consistently here. So, it's important to be, we'll talk about this, critical on yourself, not overly critical, but critical. There is a gap there. And what drives me to do this project is I want to understand it for my benefit, but hopefully for others as well. And if we can unearth a few, tips or ideas that can help everyone improve, then fantastic, because I think that's an important part of life, even at my age.
Well, I've got to say, I'm exactly similar, i.e. one of the things that I found most appealing about doing this when you first approached me with it is that opportunity to suss out what makes these anglers the very best. The best, it's very easy, isn't it? And we've all fallen into the trap of doing it. I certainly have in the past. You can make excuses.
Yeah.
Fact of the matter is, Jamie Hughes has qualified for Fishermania the last 13 years on the trot.
Yeah.
He's won it how many times alongside most other things.
Yeah.
Steve Ringer has won everything there is to win in UK match fishing and continues to do so. And it is a mental thing or a psychological thing, isn't it?
I think it's a big part of it. I think what we hope to achieve, and it's perhaps worth emphasising, this is just right at the beginning, and this is very much an early study, you might call it a pilot study. What I would like us to achieve from this is to at least start to lay out the landscape of what are the things that mark the best from the rest. I do think we're going to find a big part of it is decision making and what goes on between the ears, and if we can start to unpack that a little bit and as I say, turn it into some tips and crystallise some learning points, then that's fantastic. But yeah, to your broader point, it cannot be luck.
No, it can't be. And I fished at a good level for a long time. I like to think I'm improving, and without giving too much away about what's about to follow, but one of the great questions you ask in this is, are you a better angler now than you were 5 years ago?
And do you think you are?
I think I am, yeah, a little bit, but I know I could be a hell of a lot better. I know I have a long way to go before we're catching up Jamie Hughes. So, it's that drive to improve, and hopefully everyone who's watching this can join us on that journey of self-improvement as well.
Fantastic. That would be an enormous achievement.
Wouldn't it just? So, let's tell them what we've been up to the last 6 months. Yep. Since we sat down and had a rather nice, was it Italian we had?
It was indeed in Oswestry.
A nice Italian in Oswestry.
Indian
first, yeah. A nice Indian in Oswestry. We've been around the country and we've interviewed 6 of the very best. Colin asked for these anglers to be unimpeachable. They were your words.
Yeah.
You used, weren't you?
Yeah. Beyond question in terms of their capability. Yeah.
So literally, we wrote a list of 6 anglers we wanted to interview on that criteria. Now, what's flattered me a little bit, and it should certainly flatter you, because I think this is the reason it's happened, all 6 of those said yes. And not only did they all want to do this, but they all expressed a real interest in the psychological aspect of match fishing, which I think is testament to the strength of your idea, Colin, and the strength of the project. So we've got Godfrey, Alan Scotthorne, Jamie Hughes, Andy Bennett, Lee Kerry, and Steve Ringer, all interviewed. We've sat down for an hour plus with all of them. And the format this is going to take is, first of all, we're going to run through those interviews. You can watch them unedited on the channel as well. We'll upload them in their raw form as well. But if you're following this in sequence, we'll go through each of those interviews, pulling out key learning points. And then from that, Colin, you've put together some themes, haven't you? Yeah,
as Tom said, what we've tried to do is go into detail as much as we can in each of the 6 interviews, but then lay all that detail out and see what the common themes are across those anglers. There are some differences, but what are the common themes as well? And we've turned that into a framework or a model that has a number of components to it. So once we've shown you or you've had a chance to see the individual interviews, we'll show you the analysis and the themes that it pulls out. And I think it's really exciting. Although I would just really here at the outset echo the point you've made. We are really grateful for the anglers for participating in this. We couldn't have done it without them, and it's a privilege to be able to spend time with them. I think I certainly have learned from watching each and every one of them, and then from looking across the piece as well. So very excited. we think we've got something. Very grateful for those that have agreed to participate.
It's interesting, as Colin says, it's in my journalism career, you go into interviewing different anglers, and every now and then you get a little nugget, and a little nugget of gold. Somebody says something, might be Alan explains how he lays a rig in, or Jamie shows you how he prepares his pellets. And the readers will love this, the viewers in the modern context will love this. And through this, I've had a couple of moments whereby my almost jaws dropped. I've been stood filming the interview. God, it's interesting.
Yeah.
And not only interesting, but it's been a little nugget that I know I've put into my match fishing since hearing it, and it's made a big difference. So there's a lot in here and a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
One thing I know we're particularly keen to get from this, Colin, is information for every man. And by that, I mean, obviously, we're focusing on top-level sportsmen here. All these people are, in some guise or other, professional anglers, you'd say.
Yeah.
Will there be things that we can pull from this that a man who might fish once a week or a woman who might fish once a week can apply to their fishing?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll have failed in our job if we don't do that. I mean, organisations spend millions every year on training and development, and not all of it works. And if you can look at the reasons why it does and why it doesn't work, one of the things that's really important to maximise that transfer of learning from, say, watching something like this or going on a training course to the workplace or to the bag is to distill out those absolute nuggets and then think about how you're going to apply them. And I'd like us to try and do some of that. So if we identify a particular factor is important, say dedication or whatever it is, what does that mean? What does it look like from someone who can only give this amount of time a week? And how does the angler optimise that time that's available and get something practical out of it? So yes, if I think that's our job, to turn this into something digestible that individuals can take out, teams can take out and apply in their fishing on the bank. That's what we're here for, I think.
So whether you're a man who maybe fishes once a week, or you've got aspirations to be the very best out there and you're going for it, fishing as much as you can, there'll be something here for you guys to learn from.
Yeah.
And it's worth saying, actually, before we go into this first interview, we actually did it as a bit of a pilot for the whole thing. At that point, we said to Matt Godfrey, who was the subject of the interview, we said, what do you think? Do you think it's worth carrying on with this? Is it a good format? He loved it more than we did, I'm going to say, didn't he?
Yeah.
So the first interview is with Matt, and stay tuned. I think you're really going to enjoy this.